I'm Tessa with Mama's Geeky. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for taking the time.
So thank you so much for having me.
I'm obsessed with your character. I love when we see her. One of the first scenes, is her in the school. Like, listen, this is how it is. I love that scene. Can you just talk about finding I feel like there's so much empowerment with her, and I love her so much.
Full disclosure, that scene in particular was certainly taken, it was me having taken a page from my mother's handbook. Like I can say that scene definitively was like my mother was full of the inspiration. Because she was just such a like fierce protector of her children, like such a mama bear. She's a really nice woman until yeah, like you don't cross her kids if she has anything to say about it. So yeah, and won't go into it, but yeah, there definitely was an experience with one of my brothers that I remember, and I'm like, oh, yep, that's this moment.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, like as a mom, I was like, yes. The way she's
hmm
like, oh yeah, well, I donate this and I've got I was like, girl, go get it. I loved it. But what was it about this series that made you want to be a part of it? Because I started it, I watched it all in a day and a half. I couldn't stop.
Yeah, ugh, I'm so jealous. I've only got to see the first few episodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, I know. Um, what made me want to be a part of it? Honestly, it's just like such a cool, unique story. It's a family that we haven't seen on screen to see like this Black family, not just like their affluence, but their ideology, their family dynamic. You have the mystery element to it. There's just so much to play with there. Um, and so yeah, I just thoroughly like have enjoyed um, the making of it and getting to live in that world for a while.
Yeah, and I've got to talk to you about filming in different like years. Like, how was it? Like, I'm sure hair makeup goes into a lot of that, but
Yes.
what was it like? Because I'm sure you didn't get to film, all of one year and then skip to another year.
Not at all. Yeah, it was wild because like there were many days, especially I think in the first maybe half of the season, where I had one like you know one third of the day I'm in 2007, another third of the day I'm in 2017, another third of the day I'm in present day, and not and certainly not in linear order. So maybe I started in present day, then was in 2007, then in 2017. But I mean, honestly, it's really cool because it's really just allows that much more understanding of the character. I mean, for the audience and certainly for myself. And then, yeah, I think of the episodes I've seen, I think there's a few scenes that we filmed that didn't actually like make the final cut. But I'm still just so happy that because it informed so much of like how did these characters come to be.
Yeah, and then I got to ask you about working with Forrest because I mean, he's a legend. He's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, he really truly is. Like it was honestly like such a dream to work with. Both because, he is like yeah, just incomparable in terms of like his acting, his career, but he's also just really a great scene partner. He's like so kind and like gentle to work with, no pretense, soft spoken. Um, but just very generous. Like he makes sure that his scene partner has everything. Are you good? Like, have you, did you get everything that you needed out of the take? Are we, and it's something that I really appreciate. It's the ethos that I was trained in, but it's always really lovely to actually like see it in practice in the real world.
Oh, I love that so much. They always say like don't meet your heroes, but he just seems like
Meet Forrest.
amazing.
You will not be disappointed. Yeah.
I love it. And then I've got to know, as you were like reading through the scripts and you got them, because there's this mystery. I mean, there's a couple of mystery things throughout, but did you kind of expect things to go the way they went, or were you like edge of your seat waiting for the next thing?
Oh, I mean, as an audience member myself, because I think when we started, I had the first half of the scripts, and then pretty much it wasn't until we were like getting to the second half that I started, like the others started to kind of like come in. And yeah, by that point, you're just like, yeah, please, I just need to know like what happens. And obviously, there's like a book to follow, but
Yeah.
we deviated from the book. So yeah, I was like I was hooked just like as an audience member myself, like on the page and wanting to know what happens next.
Amazing. Well, congratulations. Like I said, I absolutely love this. I can't wait for people to watch it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. Awesome. Well, I'm Tessa Smith with Mama's Geeky. Thank you guys so much for taking the time.
Tessa. Hi, Tessa.
Oh my gosh, I was hooked on this. Like I started the first episode and I literally watched it in a day and a half. I could not stop. But what was it about the novels that made you think, yes, yes, this is gonna be a good series?
Well, the novel, if anybody's had a chance to read it, you recognize that it has a great mystery at its core, and it has excellent character work, and all the family dynamics and romantic entanglements are there too. But really, at its core, is a great political mystery thriller. And I knew that that would make a great TV show, and so did our partners at Warner Brothers and MGM Plus. So that's what I think we really all hung our hat on. With that said, we also wanted to pick the lives of these characters. I mean, they have really rich, full lives, and that stuff was exciting to us as well.
Yeah, Damian, what about this made you want to be a part of it?
The normalcy of the story that we were telling, because I've done a bunch of work, and I've done the shows that have I've done the Snowfalls, where we're covering the largest crack dealer in South LA. I've done Winning Time, where we are covering amazingly talented Black basketball players, but I've never done just a show that showed a well-to-do Black family, and they were just pretty regular. I mean, obviously Dad was a Supreme Court nom, but that is something that comes from hard work and not from just sort of like this, like, oh, he can do this cool thing, right? So I love the fact that what I saw on paper was, when you first read it and our directorial mind start to put this picture together, and you're like, I really think this could be unique in not trying, like usually it's like, oh, and then there's explosion and the guy, he's got blue lights that come out of his eyes. No, this just spoke to me, from page 1 through 60 on that pilot. It really just spoke to me, and I said, yeah, I want to know more about this, and I want to see how we can actually complete this.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys talk about doing the different time frames? So like, would you film like 2007 stuff back to back and then go to present day?
It was a true block shooting schedule, so we would have loved to be able to do that, but no. I mean, all hats off to our performers and our hair and makeup, our wardrobe, even our production design, where if we were shooting at the Garland house and we were in the judge's study, the study would change.
Yeah.
Like the type of computer that he had, the drapes that he would have, the artwork that Claire would buy over the decades, because Claire is kind of where the money came from. She's the one that's from money. So to do this, and the easiest way to explain it to you is sometimes first up in the morning, we are doing, scene 12 from episode 2. And then the second scene up is scene 3 from episode 1. But Forrest has to be 70 something years old, and that's not his hair. His hair needs to be. So it was a true working experience in that. I think that is sort of what people are built for in the Hollywood system. No, that is pretty normal. It doesn't matter what show you pick up. What you hope to have are great performers and great crew, just everyone with a full understanding of what it is you're trying to do, because each person, I can honestly say, took their part personally. Like it was a personal thing for hair and makeup. And I think all in all, we all were like very thankful to Sherman that it was like, hey, you gave us something like this to work on. I could tell you about all the other scripts that come to me that don't give me any of this feeling. So it was nice to be able to go to work and kind of have that village of people saying, yeah, man, let's all do this together and let's make this good.
Oh, I love it. And I got to talk to you about working with Forrest, because I mean, he's just incredible. What was that like for both of you?
I mean, he's a giant, and he's a legend. And I said this before, but like when we wrote the role of the judge, we knew that there were a lot of great Black male actors in that age range, but Forrest's name was always at the top of the list. And when he read it and responded to the material and said that he wanted to do it, we were of course elated. Working with him personally, Damian could speak more to this, but just the nicest, most humble guy. I mean, he's earned the right to be a Hollywood star and make demands on set, but he doesn't do any of that. He cares about the craft, he cares about the finished product, and he really wants to know that he's doing a good job, and he really wants to collaborate to get there. So, man, I really enjoy working with that guy.
Yeah, no,
What
it
was
was
it like for you?
it was amazing. It was and he's in the entire season, you know. This isn't something he's just in one episode. He is all the way throughout. And I just think I also love there's an episode in the middle of the season where Omar Miller comes into play, an even younger version of the judge. And that is also exciting for the audience as well. So, and I remember Omar and I talking and him just trying to, it was nice to see one actor that you respect pulling you aside saying, man, I'm like, what do you think about this? And he would try to do the cadence and he'd be like, I think this is what he's doing, but he's only doing that in 2014 because in college he's not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm just amazed by it all because I think that's part of being great, right? If you're going to be great and you're going to walk into a room, if you're going to be a Forest Whitaker, you have to understand that you are going to affect. And he affected not just myself as a director and our writers, but he also affected the performers. And that even went for people who came in to play another version of him. It was just, yeah, very, very great guy, man. It was insane pleasure.
I love it. Episode 8, he's just incredible.
Yeah, thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
Episode 8 is a special one for us because it really features Forrest. I know Damian was mad he didn't get to direct that particular one. We all
I had enough to do. I had enough.
But that's to say that we all identified that as a really special opportunity for Forrest to just, you know, do what he does. And you know, in that respect is one of our favorites because it's really Forrest on screen just taking over and taking command.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate it. And congratulations. I think this is so good. I can't wait for everyone to see it.
Thank you.
Much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Perfect. I'm Tessa with MamasGeeky. Thank you guys so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to say I started this and then I finished all the 8 episodes they gave us in a day and a half. I could not stop watching. So good. But I'd love to know what it was for you guys that made you want to be a part of this.
Ooh, you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
You know, it was a no-brainer. You get the script, and I looked at the character, and I said, you know, I got to do everything I can to make this happen. And we both read the novel immediately when we got the first ask, and the callback was just really fun. And I'm, you know, we're both on cloud 9 about it. It's been really great.
Yeah, it's been super fun. The novel is great. Sherman is an incredible writer. Damian is absolutely wonderful as a director, and the cast is phenomenal. I mean, this guy is incredible in the show.
You're both fantastic.
So it's an embarrassment of riches to be able to be in this company of actors and to tell such a thrilling piece. Like, we're over the moon.
Yeah, for both of you, your characters have some secrets. There's a lot happening with the two of you. You're very suspenseful. So I want to know what it was like when you were reading the scripts, like about your character and how you felt about that.
So many questions.
And you emailed over.
And I
didn't know that.
Because I need to know. I'm very inquisitive. And so there were things that were kind of alluded to in the earlier episodes as like people watch, they'll see that I was like, why do I do this? And why do I do that? Even though I had read the novel and done all the research, you never know what's changing and what's like, you know, applicable to TV. And so I would ask Sherman, like, okay, so why do I do this? And who is this? And what's happening here? And he was so helpful. And then there was some stuff that he was like, I don't know, we'll see. And that was like, and that was the most fun because we're learning together. So as the audience watches, just know, like, you and the actor are learning that at that time.
Yeah, I was in the first episode, and then I didn't show up until episode 6. So I was like sitting on pins and needles. I don't know what's going on. I'm not getting this, like, you know. And then finally I started getting the scripts, and I'm like filling in the blanks. And then the actual, you know, scenes that I had going into the last 2 episodes, those came very late in the game. So I was like, come on, just give me, I want to know what I'm doing. I want to know what happens. And because it's not a given that it'll happen the same as the novel. But that actually made it more fun in a way, because you end up not jumping the gun as an actor and playing something because you know how it's going to end.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. And then for Torrey, you're in a couple of different years
Yeah.
right? So what's it like filming that?
Sometimes within 20-minute turnaround, let's get rid of the red hair, get it back to that, and start over
What?
again. Yeah, that would happen. That was a blast. Unnerving and kind of weird because I'm playing someone, pretty much, on his deathbed at the end, and then someone, jumping around in his 40s, acting normally. Like, what was I like in my 40s? What was I? That's not real, And it was a blast because you have to do it turn on a dime and become the character 20 years earlier. And so it was very fun, very fun.
Yeah. And then I got to talk about Forest because he's incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. What was it like working with him?
Forrest, the nicest man I've ever met of any kind of person. He was immediately welcoming and just about doing great work. And when I saw what he brought to the table, I just did my best to match it and be in the scene with him and focus on my crafts and forget about who I was actually looking at. Because it was something I really, when I realized who I was going to be working with, I went, oh boy, okay. I've got to really focus on how I do what I do so I don't think about myself when I'm doing it. It's the worst thing that can happen as an actor is all of a sudden you're watching. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah. Pressure's on.
Yeah. Pressure's on. Yeah.
Did you get to meet him, Jasmine?
Yes, he's so lovely and so kind. And he's like, oh, the first time I met him, he said, oh, I can't say it because I can't give it away.
Oh yeah, you don't do
But it was a very funny joke. And I was like, oh, so you do know what acting is doing behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. And congratulations. I loved this. I can't wait for everyone to see it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Tessa with MamasGeeky. Thank you both so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. I was like hooked on this. I started the first episode and I watched the entire thing in a day and a half. I couldn't stop. So congratulations. It's fantastic. But what was it that drew you to the series to begin with for both of you?
I read the book and it was a page turner. I thought, I grew up, in the 90s, all of the thrillers of the 90s, right? Like the Alex Cross movies with Morgan Freeman, like the whodunit / thriller / conspiracy theory stories. I loved them. And so the opportunity to be a part of one of them, I couldn't turn it down.
I think there's several things that drew me to this project, like working with people like Damian and Sherman and John Wells, and MGM Plus and Warner Brothers, like just the amount of people that they had behind it. So I was like, oh, what is this? Like, let me check out this book that everyone seems to know, where I was like the only person that didn't read it. And I was reading it and I was like, oh, wait, this is the character? The first person that like, oh, this guy? Oh, wow. Like, all right, well, let me like put on my big boy pants and like really try and present this multifaceted character through flashbacks and the present. Like I would call the present during the process the future. Tal is technically older than me than I am in the present, so I was calling that the future. I was calling when we're the same age the present, and when I was calling when we're younger the past. And people are like, what are you talking about? So juggling that was also really interesting and fun. And also my dad in real life is a judge, not a federal judge like that. He's a municipal court judge, but just growing up, having gone to court like all the time as a kid, and then like having to go up to like the various judges when my dad was a lawyer, and they're like, where are you in school, young man? I was like, oh, I'm in elementary school. They're like, what kind of grades you get? I was like, oh, I get A's. Like having that kind of always happening, realizing like, oh, he did the same thing. Like he had to go to court. He would watch his dad. He'd have to talk to the clerks. He'd have to have weird conversations with like the bailiffs and stuff, and like have his Game Boy in the back. Like, oh, okay, like this guy, granted, chose a different path in life. Maybe follows a lot more rules than I do. There's some me in there.
I love that. What was it like for the both of you having to do different, like having to actually film the different years? Because I imagine you obviously didn't do like all of 2007, all of 2000, whatever. It was back and forth, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think our crew did a really good job of putting us in that world. Like I remember when we had to do a scene and there was like a fax machine and I was like, who uses fax machines? like our set dressing teams, our props teams, like holding old cell phones from back in the day, like really allowed me imaginatively to get into that world. Our hair team did an amazing job with doing different hairstyles and wigs for me that shows the progression of Kimmer from youth to when you see her in the present. So that was really fun and interesting to get to play with as well. And so I think, getting into the time period, I really relied on our craftspeople to help me get into that imaginary space of like, oh, now I'm in 2007. And I think they did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think for me it was always Jesse with hair and Jessica with makeup and Ayana's with the costumes like that. Because reading the script, you have a sense of the world. Like, okay, I remember what 2007 was like. I remember what 2014 was like. I remember what 2017 was like. But then when you put on the Timberlands and the polo shirt and they darken every single gray you have, you're like, oh wow, this was what I was looking like at 24. Like, and it just helps the journey towards getting closer to the truth. And so I think it was our crew and the set dressing and like all the locations that we shot in Chicago where you really were like, oh wow, like this building has been here for probably 125 years and we're using it for a particular point in time. And like you see all the background and like from every hairstyle you can imagine from 2007. Like it was really a team effort to really get to those flashback scenes.
Yeah, when Jesse put my wig on for the 2007, I kept like, I was tripping. Oh my God, this is weird. It really looks like me from that time period.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for your time. I appreciate it. Congratulations. Like I said, I loved this series, so I'm really hoping that a lot of people watch it.